Hello, everybody. It's Congressman Jamie Raskin calling out to all my friends in Maryland's beautiful 8th District and beyond. It's Friday, November 17th, and it is my favorite time of the week. You know, it is time for Local Hero, and we get to salute the people who are doing great things for our community. And today I'm going to present to you my friend, Dr. Santi Bhagat, who is the president and the founder of Physician-Parent Caregivers. She's got an amazing story because she's a doctor who trained in molecular diagnostics and lab medicine at Georgetown University Medical Center. And she was being a doctor when her 8-year-old daughter, Natasha, became critically ill. So Dr. Bhagat went to study health policy at the Milken School of Public Health at GW, and she founded Physician-Parent Caregivers, PPC, to work to protect all families who have children with chronic health conditions. And her searching policy analysis really uncovered the void of systems of care that exists for young people who have a chronic condition when they turn 18. And the goal of Dr. Bhagat's group is to ensure that young people who've turned 18 who have chronic conditions are not forgotten and don't fall through the cracks. She wants to make sure that they're designated a public health priority, and so that they're included in the design of all of our medical systems, because there might be intensive design around helping young people, children, but then when they turn 18, it's over the cliff, even though many of the problems are still there and in some cases may have gotten worse. She's raised my consciousness about this in a big way. I introduced a resolution in the House just a couple of weeks ago to raise awareness about young adults who are living with chronic health conditions throughout the United States of America. And, you know, the good news part of this is that because of big scientific and medical breakthroughs in diseases like cystic fibrosis and multiple sclerosis and sickle cell disease and cancer and cerebral palsy, children who get these diseases are living longer. The problem is that we've not set up the system to help take care of them. And that's why Dr. Bhagat is my local hero, because she's identified it as a serious, not just a medical problem, but a social problem that we've got to address. Dr. Bhagat, you're our local hero. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much. And thank you for introducing that resolution. It's a huge first step for our young people and their families.
Well, I mean, what is it like living through this experience with Natasha and dealing with all of her needs and seeing her get older? She's in her 30s now, I think. But then enlarging your vision to see this as a whole new social phenomenon and problem that we have failed to address systemically.
It's actually frightening because, you know, I think as parents, we try to get the best care for our children and we try to educate them and make sure that they achieve the milestones that we want for any young child or any children or young adult, children. And there's really nothing in place for this population after they graduate from pediatrics. They enter an adult medical system that we think is going to be able to take care of them, but it's not set up to do that because adult medicine is really designed for older adults and the elderly. And young adults are still developing psychosocially, developmentally. They're trying to figure out who they are, what their identity is, who they want to be. And when you have a chronic condition and you don't have the healthcare piece there, everything sort of falls apart. And healthcare is a big problem in this country across the board and doesn't exist for young adult. We've identified that we need a field of young adult medicine, just like we have pediatrics, geriatrics, and adolescent medicine. And that's a big ask, but also there's nothing in place for them once they graduate from high school. So as long as they're children, there's some sort of structure that's put in place for them within pediatric child and, having the parents sort of take care of you and look after you and being in school. But after that, it's a no man's land for this population. And it's hard for all young adults. So for my daughter, it's really hard, even though we have great insurance, we have, access to the best medical care, we're able to give the time that she needs. There's really nothing in place for her. So we're trying to figure out how to create some structure for her. And it's very different from the systems that are set up for young people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. We have created some systems for them. They're not ideal. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but at least they're there. And that doesn't exist for our young people. And when I look at this socially, we launched a movement online in 2020, and there are so many young people across the world that are complaining and are struggling to figure out how they're going to do anything with their life.
So it's a problem of staggering scope and breadth that you've identified, and it's overwhelming enough thinking about one young person, but you've had the vision and the heart to try to think about a whole new generation of young adults who've graduated into formal adulthood at 18 with a chronic health condition with major challenges for them. So how should we go about thinking about this? Is it primarily a medical issue, or is it an educational issue, or is it a career issue, or what kinds of accommodations do we need to think about, and how do we wrap our heads around it?
Good question. We've been trying to figure that out. And so we started working on policy change in the healthcare space. Then we held an internship at American University and found that, oh, this is a really big educational issue. So we started working on higher education policy in Maryland, and we're able to have some traction. And we have a report by the Maryland Higher Education Commission and the Maryland Health Administration, which shows that higher education institutions don't have anything in place for this population, and they came up with 17 recommendations. So that's just one piece. We also know in healthcare that we don't have a young adult medical home or young adult medicine. We have just started talking about employment for this population. So it's really the whole piece. So PPC has taken the approach that instead of trying to tackle all of these policy issues, which they're huge, each one of them in themselves, it's really a social issue. We don't recognize this population exists, and there's no funding at the federal level. We actually have funding for children with special healthcare needs up to age 18, but there's no legislative authority for that agency to do anything for them beyond age 18, and we know they're living. And funders typically don't think that young adults have health issues, so funders don't fund work on this. And so it's a big social issue. It's a phenomenon, just like we have other movements for other groups. I think that's where we need to start. And I think that's what the resolution is actually making. It's actually starting that process.
Well, I think you're right. And you made a light bulb go off in my head as I saw that we can't begin to address this multidimensional problem, as you describe it, until we recognize it as a problem and as an issue. And I want to thank you for opening my eyes to it. I am certain hundreds or thousands of people are going to see this interview and say, Dr. Bhagat is describing my life or describing what's going on in our family right now. We know that there are millions of young people across the country who are dealing with a chronic health condition at the same time that they're entering adulthood and dealing with all of the normal problems that people deal with entering adulthood, figuring out about school, figuring out about a career, where to live, their relationships, all those things, plus all of the problems associated with dealing with a serious health condition. So I want to just thank you and salute you for identifying this, for being a real visionary, and for acting with so much compassion. And I know we've got so much more to talk about here, and I will continue to be an ally and a contributor to the work that you're doing. And for everything you've brought us to at this point, you're our local hero.
Thank you so much. And I have to just say that there are so many people that have worked with us in organizations over the years. There's a lot of people that do care and have really, put in some sweat equity. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santi Bhagat, our local hero for today, Friday, November 17th. I'll see everybody next week.